I was having a conversation with someone at the supermarket the other day, and they were very religious, very God-fearing. I could tell. They were talking about this, wearing their crucifix around their neck. And I got into a little bit of a debate with them. And this is how the conversation went. I tried to convince them otherwise. That they may have been misinformed. Now, I'm not saying there is no God. There is a God. I believe that many Christians and many modern views of what God is are misinformed. God is not, as some people may believe, a bearded figure in the sky, for example, or an old man, or even someone ruling and controlling things like a king. The term king or Lord, these may just be metaphors or code for something else. Or perhaps the very idea of the nature of God is misunderstood. Perhaps God is all of us. God is nature itself, that which cannot be seen, the scheme of things, the way. Perhaps God is consciousness itself, within everyone. They say God is within everyone. A piece of God is in everyone. Maybe that's what it means. Everyone is consciousness. Everyone has access to this. Everyone and everything. That which cannot be seen or explained, really, or understood completely. For who wants to understand everything, right? Once you've understood everything, there's nothing left to live for. How boring that must be. How terrible to know everything. Who wants to be that one who knows everything? I don't think if there is a God as such, he would want to be like that. That if there was one selected individual creating and controlling everything on their own, I don't think they would want to hold on to that power. I think they would want to give it up, or at least share the burden with billions of people, such as the universe we live in. For who wants to be that one? I certainly wouldn't. And I know deep down you wouldn't either. So I had this conversation with this person in the supermarket. And I said, I think I know what you're thinking. I've come here and you're being tested. Your faith is being tested. If you fall for my tricks, as you so seem to want to consider them, and you'll be punished, right? But if you stand true to your faith, you stay strong with what you believe, what you've been taught, then you'll be rewarded by God. Or some sort of thing like that. I was not far off. But to fear punishment for straying from your religion, from your beliefs, punishment. Who's going to punish you? God? God would punish his own child for having their own beliefs, for having their own thoughts, for thinking for themselves? Shouldn't parents encourage their children to think for themselves? What kind of a parent would God be if he wanted to force his children to think a certain way, to not be themselves, to lose their individuality, that does not sound like a good parent to me. That does not sound like what God would be to me. And then that goes to another topic in mind, the idea of hell. If you believe in an eternal hell, and I believe some people believe in an eternal hell, well, that's horrible. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemies. An eternal hell, one that you can never come out of? That's horrible to even conceive. And to wish that upon someone. Well, for someone to say, go to hell, to someone who they feel has scorned them, because you have a problem with this person, you wish for them to suffer eternally. Well, I think the only person who would wish such a horrible, horrible thing would be the devil himself. So it brings upon hypocrisy in a way. But let's get back to this discussion about punishment. So you might think, oh, he's punishing me to teach me something. You know, if I fail to stay true to my beliefs, so-called my beliefs, they're not really your beliefs, they're the beliefs that you have been conditioned to hold on to by the way you were raised. But if I fail to hold on to this idea of quote-unquote mine, I'll be punished, but it's punishment for my own good, you may think, right? To learn something. So then we go to this idea of eternal hell. You're being punished eternally to learn? Learn for what? If you're not able to leave, then what are you learning for? I believe everybody, no matter how evil they may seem, you know, or however many horrible things they've done, everybody at some point can be redeemed. For the most evil people, Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, all those people, it may take millions and millions of years, like thousands of lifetimes, coming back, reincarnated, you know, learning and learning and learning. It may take so long, but eventually even they can be redeemed. For good people, it may not take as long. It may take 1 lifetime, 2 lifetimes. You know, people who are kind to others, stay true to themselves, know themselves. But everybody, nobody is doomed eternally. For everybody is conscious. Everybody is a part of God. And God would not want to doom a part of himself for eternity. For eternity. I mean, after all, why would God put these people on the earth just to have them punished? So then you have to ask yourself, what is God? What is right? What is wrong? Who am I? How did the idea of hell come to be? Well, I don't think these things are created for no reason. Perhaps they were based on something else. And through misunderstanding, through misinformation, perhaps they developed this characteristic that the characteristics that the church follows. You know, perhaps hell is just a state of being, state of mind on earth while you're alive. You know, if you're in a bad place, if you're suicidal, God forbid, you're depressed, you're crazy, anything like that, maybe that's hell. And it's not impossible to come out of it. I don't believe it's impossible to wake up in such a way. I don't think depression has to be till you die. I think people can learn and train themselves to, come out of it. Even crazy people. At one point in my life, I could have been considered crazy. I was taking drugs, not so many drugs. I was taking marijuana. But I was addicted, and I was smoking. I wasn't drinking, but I was doing enough that I actually started hallucinating. And that was a very, very dark time in my life. And I was talking to the walls, I was talking to myself, and I was driving myself crazy, and I was emotional. But even I came out of that. I gave it time. I learned. I centered myself. Patience and learning and listening. It helps you grow. I grew. I'm okay. And I knew I was going to be okay. If you're going to have faith in anything, have faith in that you're going to be okay. What is religion if not a guide to something better? So keep in mind, whatever path you're on, you're already on it. And it's going to lead somewhere. And it's not going to lead anywhere bad. Maybe there's a waypoint that you may seem as bad, You get to one certain point in your life and you're like, oh, this is terrible. But even that's not the end. You'll go somewhere after that. And even then, you'll go somewhere after that. And it all ends up with you growing and growing from each experience. You learn something new. And there's no way it can end in something badly because you're always learning something. Every experience is a learning experience. So the path always leads somewhere positive. Maybe in the moment it may not seem that way, but it does. If you're going to have faith in something, have faith in that. Maybe that's God. The idea or the upcoming something that you don't know what it is, but it's coming. It's coming for you in a good way. But it's gonna, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get to wherever you feel like you need to be, or you want to, be in a certain state of mind where everything is just uphill from there. I mean, uphill in a good way, not like struggle, but like, your mood uplifted exponentially, even just everything's getting better and better. Maybe that's God, and that's something to aim for or have faith that you will get there with time, sooner or later, and you'll love your life. Maybe God is you at your most enlightened and consciousness. There's a belief that when people first heard about conscious, heard their conscious thoughts, they thought it was God, talking to them, because before that people were just living. They weren't really thinking about anything. They were just living their lives. They were, plowing the field, hunting, all that, hunter-gatherer. And then they started to think, inventing and everything, conceptualizing. And then they thought that was, the voice of God, but it was really their own consciousness. Perhaps it's both. Perhaps it's God and, the idea of God is that consciousness is maybe you at your most enlightened state in a dimension above, talking down at yourself, trying to, come this way, guiding yourself, the version of you that cannot really be seen, but it's you at your most centered, at your most enlightened, your formless self. And that's, you're talking to yourself to kind of pull your unenlightened, your unconscious self to this moment. Come this way, here, do this. So it's like your conscience, but that's also God. That's what God comes from, the idea of God. So to think that God's just some other person, some other being that really isn't you, but it's just someone else telling you what to do. And then if you don't listen to them, they're going to hurt you, they're going to punish you. That's really just a disgrace to what God really is. That's just you know, that's just a shame to believe in something like that. So if you could take anything away from this message, any message you can take away from this, just be yourself, have your own